I call this statutory and regular session of the Wetzel County Board of Education to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Mrs. Cooley, and an invocation given by Mrs. Fodder. Anyone not wanting to participate may stay seated.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, we ask that you look over all of the people in our community and our school system, helping anyone through hard times. We will try to do our best with the knowledge that you have given us and the wisdom to do what's best for Wetzel County students. Amen.
The next item on the agenda is the reconvening of the statutory session from March the 14th, 2022. Mr. Langus, do you have any comments?
Yeah, it's been published in the newspaper. The rates haven't changed since we published them, since our initial setting of the rates. It's an odd year because they changed the way that oil and gas values, the oil and gas wells are being valued. So we've got basically a 9% decrease in tax collections this year, and that's reflected in these numbers. But no, it's just asking for approval, or if there's any comments out here for the public hearing.
Okay. Next, objections. Is there anyone in the audience that has any objections, if any, to the levy order? If not, do we have a motion for approval of the levy order?
I so move.
I'll second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the levy order. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The levy order is approved. The next thing is the adjournment of the statutory session of March the 14th, 2022. By law, we have to adjourn that meeting. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Properly moved and seconded to adjourn the statutory session of March the 14th, 2022. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The session is adjourned. Next, we have recognitions. Grace Green, we've been waiting for you for the last couple of meetings, and I just want to read what the certificate we're going to present you says. Carolyn Grace Green for Honor Recital Performance 2022 West Virginia Music Educators Association Conference. Grace, do you want to tell the board anything about what you did, and just a brief description? You don't have to give us a big speech.
So I submitted recordings of me singing, and then I got chosen for a concert where they took all the highest placed ratings and they made content out of the Charleston.
Very good. We are all very proud of you. If you'll come up forward.
Okay, on three. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
So she performed live when she
Yes,
didn't have
she
it.
got chosen to perform.
Okay.
Next item is delegations. I do not believe we have it. Next item on the agenda is superintendent's information. Mrs. Wells.
I think you guys will be very happy to know that my superintendent's information will be brief this evening. We did have the state board meeting that Mr. Price and I attended, where they reviewed the special circumstances review that the board and I had requested for Shortline School. Shortline School's school improvement specialist and administration are going to review that information with the Shortline School faculty on Friday morning. I will be in attendance. Mrs. Stanford will be in attendance. Any of the county office that wishes to attend. But the school improvement specialist and the administration have asked for the opportunity to present that, the results of that report to their faculty. And once they do that, then I will present a formal report to the board. I want their faculty to get an opportunity to hear it first in depth and talk about it before I bring it to the board. So,
Thank you, Mrs. Reynolds.
you're welcome.
Next item is the possible hearings regarding proposed reduction of force transfers. Mr. Cook, do we have any hearings?
We have no hearings.
All right, then we'll move on to item 7, superintendent's recommendations. The first is the approval minutes of the meeting on April 11th, 2022. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All, been properly moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The minutes have been approved. Next are personnel matters. And as you see, it's lengthy. It includes some hirings, reduction of force, where the teachers will be reduced in force but transferred to full-time substitute positions, as discussed in an earlier board meeting. There's some service personnel reductions in force. We're always hopeful that they'll be able to get on before the start of the new school year.
They're gonna be moved into substitute positions.
They will be moved into substitute positions also, yes. We have the appointment of the treasurer. We have reemployment of professional and service personnel going from probationary to continuing contract. You're a probationary employee for the first 3 years, then you move into a continuing contract, where you do not have to be hired every school year. It's called tenure. Okay, we also then have the reemployment of probationary, professional, and service personnel for the next school year. Those are people who have less than 3 years of experience, both service and personnel, service and professional personnel. Are there any questions by the board?
Mr. Cook, I'd just like to have you verify that under the reduction in force for the ones going to full-time substitute, the two mentioned for the halftime Spanish and halftime virtual facilitator, to make sure that we still are offering Spanish.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we have to. That's why these are listed as such. The virtual facilitator position is going away. That's gone. The Spanish positions have to be offered every year until we get somebody that's highly qualified in that position, to where we don't have to offer it every year. So right now we have somebody piping it in on the monitor, and then we have a full-time teacher in there monitoring that classroom. So until we get somebody in there full-time, we're gonna do it every year.
Just out of curiosity, is it possible that they themselves might end up back in that same
They
position?
did last year,
Good.
yes.
That's,
Very huge possibility that they could. But the
That's-
facilitator position is gone.
thank you.
Do any other board members have any questions concerning personnel matters? If not, do I hear a motion for approval of the superintendent's recommendations as outlined under personnel matters?
I so move.
I'll second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the superintendent's recommendations as outlined under personnel matters. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Personnel matters have been approved. Next is routine matters. We have an out-of-state trip, New Martinsville School going to Kennywood Amusement Park on Saturday, May the 21st. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the items under routine matters. All in favor, say aye.
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 Routine matters have been approved. Next is the treasurer's report. Mr. Lancaster.
I have nothing in these action tonight.
All right. Then we'll go to item number 9, board member committee reports.
I have nothing.
Mr. Caslow.
Moftai Advisory Council meets Thursday morning, and they will go, their agenda has some similar items on it. There have reduction in force and et cetera on it, so. And I don't know if this is the proper time to do it or not, but I'd like to commend the people, Mrs. Chambers and Mrs. Mace, and everybody else that helped her with the academic achievement.
Yes.
And it was very, very nice. Both nights were good. It was well received by everybody that was out there.
It was
And
fabulous.
a ton of people stayed after to, not me, but a ton of people stayed out there to clean up after it was all over, so. And a lot of them are sitting in here right now, so. Anybody, and Linda, Mrs. Spawner was there, well, everybody was there, right?
I was there.
Yeah, Mr. Yeager was there.
No, I was not.
Oh, that's right, you were out of town, that's
Out
right.
of town.
Mrs. Cooley was there, Mr. Price was there, you know.
Very nice.
Mrs. Fawner, any news on the,
Policy committee
Policy
is
committee.
going to be meeting next week,
Yes.
next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday morning.
And we'll be working on part E.
Correct.
Excuse me, I'm guessing that they plan to do that again next year. I'm going backwards,
Oh, yes.
the academic.
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I thought you were gonna say policies, and yes, we'll
Yeah.
still be working on it next year.
You'll still be doing that.
It's taking a lot longer than we thought.
Probably be worth noting that those, there were several donations from local businesses to help make that happen this year, and that was nice to see.
Fantastic.
Yes, it was.
Uh,
Thanks to those businesses for sure.
but I was gonna suggest that maybe we do a formal letter thanking them.
I think Tammy Chambers is already on top of that, it's probably already sent
Probably.
those
Yeah.
out.
Any other board members have anything to report? Next item is discussion of policy 2322, West Virginia support and accountability, school performance, student outcomes, academics, and student achievement. Mrs. Wells.
Thank you very much. Mr. Castello, rightfully so, bragged on Tammy Chambers and Chrissy Bowers for the fantastic assembly or evenings, receptions that they had for our outstanding scholars for the county, and I thank you for that, Mr. Castello, very much for bringing that up. We are in the middle of testing season right now. We've had our SATs have been given, and it won't be long before we begin our WVGSAs, and Mr. Houston, I'm sure will talk a little bit about that. So, Mr. Houston, I'm gonna go to you, and you can,
You pretty much stole my thunder there.
well,
I was just gonna say that, last Wednesday, our high schools took the SAT, everything seemed to go well. Three out of the four schools, won't have to do any makeups because all their students were present. So we just have one
Wow.
school
Mhm.
doing makeup, so I think that's pretty good.
That's wonderful.
amazing.
And Payton City Elementary is gonna start next week, I believe, with their WVGSA testing. And then the remainder of the schools will work on it in May. So we have till May 27th to get that completed. So we're moving along, and I think everything's going smooth. That was my big focus. I was gonna also say something that, today, we had a meeting with the State Department. A couple ladies from the State Department came up and talked to us about option pathways. And basically what that is different ways for kids to graduate that, struggle and really fall behind. Option pathway one, it includes hiring a teacher. But we found out something that was really interesting. You normally can't do option pathway, option 2 or 3 without hiring a teacher first. But, I don't know, something Mrs. Wells did a long time ago, and, the State Department told us that we would be allowed to, and tell me if I get this wrong, Mr. Kimball, because he was there listening to it. We were gonna be able to test our kids in the option pathway 2, even though technically we didn't hire a teacher. Some loophole they found, which is an awesome loophole. So basically what happens in option pathway 2 is, let's say a kid is maybe failed maybe their 10th grade and 11th grade math, okay, whatever, they took a news. So we try to do credit recovery, but it's kind of hard to get all that caught up. So they'll have the ability to take a test, actually on Thursday, this is how fast it's rolling, that if they pass that math portion of the test, then they will earn the credit for their math courses that they missed.
What is that test called now? It's not task anymore.
Well, it's high set.
High set, which is the old GED.
It's the old GED.
Right.
But if they would pass whatever portion they're taking, the catch is that if they're missing tons of credits in math and let's say science, you can't take the test for both. You only get to pick one. They consider it a hand up, not a handout.
And they have to be a senior.
And you have to be a senior.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be a senior. So after we learned that, our high schools are scrambling to look at credits, and we're setting it up for those students to be able to take that opportunity Thursday morning at the Tech Center. And the other nice thing about it is there's going to be enough time frame that it'd say if they didn't necessarily pass that test, they can retake it again before graduation. They'll get 3 tries at it. And even if they get 3 tries at it, even if it's past graduation and they pass it, they'll get the credits, and they'll be able to earn a high school diploma that way. So it's a pretty good thing. So I'm glad that we had the ladies from the State Department here talking with our counselors and principals about the option pathways. So just another way to try to help our kids graduate.
You mentioned hiring a teacher. Will they provide the funding for that?
Nah.
We're not,
Okay.
yeah, we're not hiring.
No, we're not looking there yet.
No, I mean, just in general, I'm not saying we were going to, I just want, because
No, the state does not hire,
they don't provide the
they
funding.
do not provide the funding
Okay.
for an options pathway.
Okay.
We actually do have currently Magnolia and Page City have, I think 2 students apiece that are using the option pathway through MOVT.
I think that's the loophole, since we're,
I think that might be,
Member of MOVT,
because we're kind of
yes.
working with MOVT, I think that's our loophole.
Mhm.
But we may be able to actually continue this with our current high set test person, Ina Robinson, who works with our dropouts, trying to get them, I hate to say GED, but it's called the high set test now.
Right.
But we may be able to get her trained to do this for us with our seniors that are just lacking some credits that we might struggle to get them done before graduation, but if they pass that test, then they can get them in math or whatever their need is. So I thought it was a really positive meeting.
So the student can go to MOVT for remediation? They actually physically go to,
If they're in the options pathway,
If they're in the
yes.
options pathway,
they go,
Those kids who
Pathway 1.
aren't would get their remediation through their high school, or if they're at the center down
Yeah.
here, they would get it through the math interventionist at the center.
right.
Right.
yeah, so basically they spend their day at MOVT, if they're in the options pathway 1. So a half a day they'd be working on trying to pass the high set test. They're not working in their social studies or math in their school. Their focus is passing that high set test while they're in school at MOVT, and then the other half of the day they're working on their CTE. So it's all linked to CTE. You can't just pass the high set test and graduate with a regular high school diploma. You have to have the CTE portion as well. They're linked together. Plus, the good thing about it is, a lot of students in that situation, they don't really like high school per se. So they're working directly on the high set test, and they're getting their CTE stuff on one site. So that's the way that works. Down the road, we might be looking option pathway 1. If you just have 4 kids, it doesn't pay to do that. Plus, if we had more offerings,
Mm-hmm.
it's possible. But if we had several kids, then we would be able to look at that option pathway 1, and it'd almost have to be in a tech center. you know.
Yes, it would, if it's option one.
Yeah.
That's a good thing because they're not getting lost in the shuffle. They're
No,
being
no.
accommodated.
The other thing is if down the road you have your own, options pathway teacher in county, you're available to do option 3. If you have one of those students that is just adamant that they're gonna drop, if you can get them in options 3, and they pass, they go into the high set program working on getting their high school equivalency. If they pass that before our October report, then they don't count as a dropout from Wetzel County, which is a positive for us, but, you know,
It's also good for the student.
yeah, it's good for the state.
We need to remember that the high set test is not easy.
No,
It is
no.
not an easy assessment.
And the other thing, as far as option pathway 1, if you had a teacher and you were trying to have students go into that, there's some prerequisites for that. They have to be 16 or older, so 16 or older. They have to they have to score a certain level on what's called the TABE test, TABE. And basically it's an equivalency test that kind of gives us an idea or whether they would be able to handle the high set test. Right now there's a waiver going with the state, and it may continue for a while, that they would have to score on is it 4th grade with the waiver?
5th grade math and 6th grade English, something like that?
Well, I think that was that was the original.
Okay. So maybe.
So it's 5th grade reading and 4th grade math. If they can score at those levels, they have a chance with the high set. And like I said, when they get in a situation where they're going to take that high set test, they're working with a teacher to pass on that math for the high set, the ELA portion, which is reading and writing, and then the social science portions of it. So they're not focusing on our school course levels. They're only working on trying to score the levels they need for that test. And that's what their focus is, so.
Mr. Houston, I understand we don't have to hire a pathways teacher, but just for my curiosity, if we did, what type of certification would that teacher have?
Which is very interesting, K through 12, they could have a kindergarten
They just
degree,
have to have a teaching certificate.
teaching certificate. Maybe an elementary teacher or a high school teacher, they don't have, a technical teacher would not work because they don't have that certification, so, but certifications, I thought it would be a lot harder, and my understanding is, if you would hire one of those teachers, then they'll have several day training, maybe 3 or 4 day training that would be done through the state to kind of help them. And then there's a software program that the state provides us, and I don't remember what the name of it is off the top of my head. And the expectation would be that the software program is for them to work through, but that teacher would devote time during their instructional period of that half day where they're teaching live, not having them sit on the computer all the time.
So we're providing opportunities for people in all different levels and abilities and everything. I mean, they're not just,
Exactly.
not, okay, you're done.
Yes.
You know, we're,
No,
Give it
no.
a chance. There's a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a chance, yeah.
it's an option or
Yeah.
whatever.
It's an option, yeah. There you go.
But honestly, I thought it was a very productive meeting,
Yeah.
really.
A lot
Well,
of information.
And our people were very, very interested. And it was outstanding that Ellen Killian from the State Department, who's over that, she said, well, we're gonna be in Wheeling this week. I can come down and test your kids if you know. She kept saying Thursday, and I'm thinking, this week, next week? And when she said this week, I was like, wow. So we'll make it happen. Counselors went back to their buildings and are working on it right now. And they will provide their email address, their name, and what tests they need to take, and we'll make it happen Thursday morning. See if we can help some kids. Okay, so that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Houston. Mr. Kimball?
I'm working right now on we have our ADA back, which is our special ed checklist. And it used to be everything that you didn't score high enough for, you had to write an improvement plan. They changed it this year where you have to pick one and write an improvement plan for that specific indicator. So right now that's what myself and my team upstairs is working on to get that submitted so we can get our ADA final results back later on in May. And myself and Karen Piscarich will be going to a special ed conference in Louisville next week as well. So that's what we have on our horizons.
Mr. Kimball, thank you. Mrs. Stanford?
I really don't have anything.
Okay, we just had a meeting last
No
week.
questions for me.
Exactly. Mr. Vargas?
Just to expand on what Mrs. Farr and I were talking, the committee will meet next Wednesday, like she said, for section E. It's a very lengthy section, but all the sections lately are very lengthy, so our goal is to have the first policy readings on the May 9th board meeting. That's all I have, Mrs. Wilson.
Thank you. Mr. Lancaster?
Nothing important at this time.
Mr. Cook?
Mr. Houston and I went to Glenville State University last week. University, and that just blows your
Yeah.
mind.
It's neat.
It's a really nice place. They've really done a lot of stuff with it. And it was huge compared to what it was when I was there. They had their career fair, met a lot of nice kids, and got to see old friends, and it was good. It was a good opportunity to get out there and put Wetzel County back out in the mouths of people, and we made some good contacts, I think, and hopefully we'll get somebody from there to come back to us. So I'm hoping for it. Starting testing this week. I'm doing some sub-mechanic tests tomorrow. Then next month hitting custodians and cooks, and actually cooks at the end of this month. So we might be able to get a couple of those on board by the end of the year. But really prepping up to try to get ready for next year and get as many subs back on the list as we possibly can. Slowly and surely, we're getting some people just coming back, but it's a slow process. I think as the mask mandates are lifted and people start feeling a little bit better about being out with with John Q. Public, we'll hopefully get some of those people back into the classrooms helping us out. So it's coming, and appreciate the board providing the opportunity for our full-time teachers to move to a sub position until they get their positions back, should that happen. I think that was a good move on our part, and I think it's positive. It's positive all the way around. Getting a lot of apps in for summer labor, so you guys are out there in college first year, get those to me, and we'll see what we can do about getting you placed close to home. And really, that's all I have.
Mr. Cook, Mrs. Wells, I want to compliment both of you. The RIF and transfer process is always difficult, but one of the first signs that you've done it correctly is when there are no employee requests for a hearing.
That is
When you do not have
Mr. Cook has
hearing-
done a very nice job.
When you do not have anyone requesting a hearing, it means that you've done things correctly. And I want to compliment you both on that.
Thank you, Mr. Cook.
Thank you. The unions had a lot to do with helping make sure that
Yes, they did.
everything was good to go too. So, I mean, they paved the path to where we could do this. So that made it a little bit better and a little bit easier. A little less stressful on everybody. My dog thanks you.
That's our accountability for this evening.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, I have one thing
Okay.
real quick. This kind of goes along with Mr. Cook. I'll make it short because I know you guys are going to kill me. When we were there meeting with the students at Glenville State, we handed out T-shirts and keychains, and what was really neat about those were made by Wetzel County CTE programs, and we kind of impressed that on them. So the people that we were meeting with, they were impressed with that. So you should be proud of our CTE programs.
Yeah, we decided that we weren't gonna be spending money on these cheap crap that we buy from wherever to hand out that was made in Indonesia. We'll make it right here with our sweatshops.
Yes.
When,
Make it happen.
when I used to have to go on the road and do that, I had cheap stuff. And it's funny because we couldn't offer a contract, but out of state could. Maryland or Virginia would be there at West Virginia University, and if you signed a contract, you get a laptop or a vacation at Myrtle Beach. And, you know, we couldn't even offer them a job.
No,
All we could do was give them an application for employment. So
times have changed.
West
And a pen.
Virginia's, I'm glad to see the laws changing because that put West Virginia behind the eight ball.
Yes.
And we lost some good opportunities to hire new teachers
right.
because of that.
I will say that this evening is the county spelling bee. They're having it right now, 6:30. So yes, right now it's begun, and Mrs. Chambers, of course, is hosting that at her school tonight. So she's a busy woman.
Any other board members have anything for the good of the order? If not, with the date and time of the next meeting being set for April 26th, a special meeting for a budget workshop at 9 a.m., and then our next regular meeting scheduled for May the 9th at 6 p.m., I move that this meeting be adjourned.
I second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This meeting is adjourned.
Mr. Lancaster. My husband was looking on the computer.